you are eligible to get lower interest rate, which is going to be less than 3%, close to 0%. And as you know, with the help of the 0% interest rate, you can pay off entire balances much quicker and much faster without any larger payments, right?
Yeah. You mean I can
So
get
for the
0% interest rate?
that is correct, ma'am. You got it. You got it. So for the qualification purpose, ma'am, which of your credit card do you think you owe the highest balance on? Is this on your Visa card or your MasterCard? Like which card do you use the most?
Oh, I use all of them and I've got them way up there. And
Mm-hmm.
I am just suffering because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just got out of the hospital because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then
Oh,
my husband went to prison because,
oh.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and my husband is mentally ill. And the cops
Oh, I
didn't understand that. And the cops came in the house, and I had a
mm-hmm.
chicken. I like to sleep with the chickens, and the cops shot my chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Oh, God.
I'm
God
having a
bless
hard
you, ma'am,
time.
and God bless you.
Oh,
And
thank
why
you.
you are getting a 0% interest rate, ma'am? Because, ma'am, after the economic recession and the COVID-19, we are losing thousands
Oh,
of customers just
wait.
because of the
COVID.
high interest rate.
Do you have the COVID?
No, no, no. I said after the economic recession and the COVID-19,
Yeah.
we
Are
are
you
losing
wearing a
thousands of
mask?
customers.
I heard that the COVID could come over the internet. Is that true?
No, 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 no.
Oh.
No, 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 no. These are like liars.
Oh.
I've said after the economic recession, and we are losing thousands of customers just because of the higher interest rate. Some of them cut up their card, then cancel their card, and they file bankruptcy. So this
Oh,
program
I
will
can't
make you
file
the experience.
bankruptcy. I can't.
No, no,
Because we've filed
no, no, no,
bankruptcy
no.
4 times already.
Deeper.
Yeah, my husband
Mhm.
he was a bad guy. I'm glad he's in prison. So I got a new
Oh,
boy.
I got it.
I got a new boyfriend, but
No problem, sir.
he's 32 and I'm 71. But I think
God bless you, man.
he likes me because I have a little bit of money and he's been using my credit card.
So
And
which card, ma'am, you use the most? Like which you think you have a higher balance with higher interest rate first? Like which card you trying to pay off first?
the Goodwill Club card,
I beg your pardon?
the Goodwill Club card is a senior discount card. That one?
It's like a Visa card or MasterCard.
Oh, no, it's for Goodwill. When you go to the thrift store, you get a discount.
Sure.
And then
You are.
I have a Safeway membership card.
You don't have any major card like Visa
Yeah.
or Master, ma'am?
Yeah, I have Visa, I have Master, and I even have that green one. What's that green one? Uh
Okay, what is the expiration on the MasterCard first?
oh, I'd have to go get them from my car.
Sure. Sure. You can take your time. You can grab all of your credit cards, okay?
Okay, I'm disabled, so
Mm-hmm.
I have to get my clothes on and go to my car, unless I
Sure,
go.
take your time.
Should I go out there naked?
Yes.
No, it'll scare the neighbors. I live in a single wide trailer, and
Ma'am, do you want a 0% interest rate or not?
yes, I need 0% interest rate. Does it matter whether
Oh,
I've collected that I've filed bankruptcy so many times?
no.
No.
Have a nice day, man.
A
Have a
what?
nice day. Take care.
What? I got 3 calls yesterday and I missed them. Anyway, see how they start out. They're going to give me free interest rate whether I have. We've never filed bankruptcy, and we have zero limit on our credit cards. My husband is a curmudgeon. He insists and has always insists that we pay cash. And he says if we can't pay cash, then we can't afford it. I used to get so mad at him. Oh my gosh. So I had to shop thrift stores and garage sales because we were paying four kids private education. The youngest, Deanna, was 700 a month times 10 months because they charge you. So that was what, 7,000 a year? No, what's seven times 100? I don't know. Anyway, and then the older kids, my brother, well, I paid my brother's school bill. That was 1,000 a month. And Marie and Tim were 1,000 a month. That's at Portland Adventist Academy. So we were paying close to 4,000 a month for their school bills. And that was really hard. I had to work full time. And I tell you what, if I had it to do different, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because a Christian home means more than sending them to Christian school. And I did it all wrong. I was exhausted. I was working full time. I hated life. I would leave the house at 5:30 in the morning to get to the hospital at 6 to do my job. I got off at 2:30. My kids got out of school at 3:15, so I'd drive over to the academy and I'd take a nap in my car waiting for them to get out of school. And then we'd drive home, and because I had a large station wagon, I took home several other kids. And I'd get home maybe at 5 o'clock. I'd start dinner and uh, yell at the kids, and it was major upset. And Larry was gone. He was struggling with his oral cancer, and then we had a big house out in the country, and I like to clean house, so it was stupid, very, very stupid. And like I said, if I had it to do all over again, I'd put the kids in public school. I would have stayed home and been a nicer mom and not be crabby, because I'd have to go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock because I got up at 4:30, sometimes 5 o'clock, just in time to run a brush through my hair and put my laboratory scrubs on. I worked in the lab as a phlebotomist. I have done just about every type of job you can think of. I still not settled what I want to do when I grow up. I always got my fingers in some pie. I guess because of I have ADD and hyper. I can't attention deficit disorder, dyslexia, and I failed school miserably. I got all D's and F's. But then when I went to college, I got all A's. So go figure that one. I didn't take knitting. I took algebra, I took college algebra, and I got a B. I took geology. I got all A's in geology. I think I got one B plus in geology. But I went to 2 years of college off and on, plus Sheriff's Academy. I got the outstanding grade there, and I failed at that. I couldn't stand being a cop. I didn't understand the ramifications. Early 70s, women were supposed to be matrons. The males did not want females driving a squad car or being their backup. They just thought that we didn't have it in us. But that was the early 70s. And they used to say, who their ride along was, their canine unit or deputy dog. That was so demeaning. And I proved myself to be a good cop because we got into a scuffle with Hell's Angels. And I got us out of there because I was brave enough to I had a Kel light, a 5-cell flashlight it had 5D cells uh, in it. And I bashed a few heads. But it was pretty dangerous because they tried to pull my gun out of my holster, but I had a clamshell holster that you could not, it was a break front clamshell, and you had to push down, down and out with the holster. So pulling it out of the holster. The guy picked me, I weighed 120 pounds. So he picked me up by the waist trying to pull my gun out. That was scary. And I was on administrative leave because that was a big fight with Hell's Angels back then, and that scared the pudding out of me. And then, while I was out on admin leave, because I hit a 16-year-old and I put him in the hospital with a concussion. He deserved it, but he was driving without a license on the wrong side of the road after dark with no lights, and he had a cast on his leg and no driver's license. I think he was 15 and a half. Anyway, he pulled up in front of his parents' home, which was a Hell's Angel pad. And he called for mama, and they all came running. So it turned into a huge scuffle with the, even San Diego PD came out to El Cajon, Santee, Highway Patrol, Border Patrol. By the time it was finished, we had Astria helicopter. It was a huge, huge thing that escalated immediately. And with my partner putting his hands up in the air, that means 9/11. That's call for help. That was the police code back in the 70s, 1199. So, or 911 backwards. So it was very scary, and I realized I didn't have it in me. And then flight 182 PSA, uh, airlines, aka PS, people scattered around, 250 souls scattered over a several mile area. Look it up, PSA flight 182, September 25, 1978. And my sergeant called me. He said, "Hey, blank, show up at the center command center down in at the scene." And I says, "Well, I'm on admin leave." He says, "No, you're not. You're off. Show up. Get dressed. Show up immediately." And I says, "What does that mean?" My sergeant said, "You're going to help recover bodies." And I said, "No, I can't do that." He says, "You are a sworn deputy. You cannot say no." And I'd been watching it on the news, and I knew what a horror show it was. And I decided that wasn't for me. And the only way I could get out of doing it, I know it's chicken. I admit I failed to. I took an oath to protect and serve. I was a sworn deputy. I took it serious. I took my job serious. I spent close to a year of going to academy and training and working my way through where I could become a deputy. I took classes. I took. I was a good marksman. That's one thing I could do is shoot a gun, and I was excellent marksman. And then driving, defensive driving, that saved my life. I knew how to outsmart somebody with driving. And that's what I did one time to a naked guy. He was a naked guy that tried to push my car off the road. He kept doing the pit maneuver on the back of my. I had an Olds 98, and he was driving a club cab. His name was Howard Corvinus. It rhymes with show me his weenus. And I was out in the Hamul, laid out in the, I think it was Descanto area. I was still working my job as a salesperson, outside sales with Amco Transmissions, and that's something I did very well at. I was making 600 to 800 a week, and sheriff's deputy wages back then was only, I think it was like $12 to $16 an hour is what the pay equaled out. So so I worked both jobs because the Amco transmission job was just a few hours a day, and I just had to make a few calls. So I had made a few calls that day, way out in East County, San Diego, down a lonely road to visit one of the gas stations that brought in referral business to Amco Transmissions. And I'd give them 10%, and I got 10% of the cut of their customers' transmission jobs. So it was a good deal, and I didn't want to give it up. And then just because making $12 to $15 an hour working as a cop, you know, didn't pay as well as Amco Transmissions. So I'm driving along, and there's this guy naked, buck naked, in the middle of the road on a lonely, deserted road. And he was standing there, and I thought, what kind of outfit does he have on? That's weird. What kind of outfit is flesh colored with the brown? Oh my goodness, what does he have in? Oh my goodness, what does he have in his hand? And he stopped me right in the middle of the street or the road. It was a country road, very deserted. And I thought, oh my gosh. I had my 357 sitting right next to me in my purse on the seat because as a sworn deputy, you're armed at all the time. You're basically on duty 24/7. So when you run across something, you do something about it. And there I was, terrified. I was only 23, 24 years old, weighed 130 pounds, all, no, 20 pounds, all wet, soaking wet, 27-inch waist. Um, I was 5'9". I was tall, so I was skinny, skinny. Not anymore. And I've lost 2 inches because of my spinal problems. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and mast cell disease, and that's why my spinal fusion went bad. So anyway, so moving on with my story. You like this story? You want to hear the end of it? What the naked man did? Anyway, it was chase on. He chased me and chased me and chased me, um, trying to get my car off the road. And I was so scared, but I'd had that defensive driving course. It was a whole week of learning how to drive under horrific conditions and being scared. And in fact, driving backwards, I learned how to drive in reverse, going 40 miles an hour. You try that. You try going 40 miles an hour backwards. You can't, it's hard to do. You have to, it takes training. It's not easy to do. And it has to be done in a controlled driver's uh, speedway or something where they had at police, at sheriff's, it was at Miramar College where the firemen and police academy went. Um, anyway, here I was terrified, and this guy in a gold and white Dodge Club cab with a camper on the back. I didn't know if he had his friends in the back or what they were going to do. I thought it was a college prank. So I didn't take it seriously until he came after me and started hitting the back of my car and then trying to do the pit maneuver. Pit maneuver means, I can't think of it. I'm stupid. Anyway, it's something tactical, um, where you hit the rear of their car. You hit the back of their car like this, as they're driving, you hit the back of their car and that throws their driving off, and they usually roll. So it's dangerous. You can't do it when there's other cars around. So anyway, Rocky Bayou Mountain Man, hello, Ocean Wave, Elizabeth Grossman, Mama Dewfield, Macon Kim. Did I forget anybody? If I did, it's because I'm stupid. I'm having a hard time. Anyway, do you like this story? You want to hear the end of it? Because it's crazy. Oh, it gets crazier. Anyway, for a half hour, this guy is chasing me out in the middle of nowhere. And my Olds 98, it was a big car. I mean, it was an old piece of junk, but it worked well. And I like having a big car. And I floored it. I was doing 100 miles an hour. And he'd pass me and then slam on his brakes and get me to stop. And then I went around him and we played cat and mouse for a long time. And then I finally lost him because I guess he couldn't drive as fast as I could because I had training. It wasn't easy to do. It's not easy. So I made it up to Pine Valley substation, the police station, and I ran in and I gave them all the details of what had happened. I had I wrote down what he looked like, his blue eyes, that's how close he was. Curly hair, and he was about 23, 25 years old, tall, 5 foot 2, 3. And then what he was doing. Well, you can imagine what he was doing. He was hoisting himself up as he drove, and he was going, giving me this. It was terrifying. And I'm a victim of being sexually abused and then kidnapped when I was little, or when I was 14, and then sexually abused when I was 5 and 6 by my uncle. And then when I was 14, I was kidnapped, drugged, and raped. He kept me 2 nights. He was a near stranger and to me, but he came over at my folks' house. They'd never met him. And 5 minutes later, he had me in his truck taking me to his friend's house to babysit for his friends who had a terminally ill child. That was a lie. Anyway, he took me up to the mountains and raped me. And he kept me 2 nights, and he brought me back a very damaged girl, but my parents didn't care. My mom was in nursing school, and she left for school and didn't see her for 2 weeks. And she came home, and I told her what happened. And the fan hit the hit, and my dad, Bob, and his brother got together and they beat Richard up. They knocked out every tooth in his head. They almost killed him, and they left him for dead because of what he had done to me. But what good did that do me? I was 14 and a half. That didn't do any good to me, knowing that they about killed a man. Why not take me in for counseling? But that didn't happen. And then 2 weeks later, I was home alone and I was petting my pet deer. We live way out in the country in the creepiest house you've ever seen. And I had a pet deer that I fed cigarettes to and oats and stuff, and it was eating out of my hand, and I was able to pet it. It was real friendly. This was in Grass Valley on Marysville Highway, right across the street from Abracadabra thrift store. And if you saw that house, you would say, oh my gosh. It was on 10 acres. I swear it was haunted. It used to be a tavern called the Dewdrop Inn. It was a house, and then it converted to a tavern, and then it converted back to a house. And Dewdrop Inn is because it was surrounded with a bunch of weeping willow trees. So anyway, that was pretty traumatic, having my pet deer shot. He meant to hit me. He used a high scope rifle, and he missed me and got my deer. And that just broke my heart. We moved to Loma Linda 2 weeks later, so I was glad to be far away, but still all that sadness and what had happened to me. And then 3 years later, when I was 17, our home was destroyed in a flood in Loma Linda. And my folks blame me, religious weirdos. I was 17 and they kicked me out of the house because they said God was mad and I was a bad girl and that's why their house was destroyed. Look at the Loma Linda flood, February 25 on a Tuesday, 1969, and you could see the worst house that was destroyed. That was our house. And my mom blamed me. She was crazy. Anyway, so I had all this history of this sexual abuse and stuff. So this guy just terrified me. Hi, unicorn, kitty, kitty, unicorn. Rocky Bayou, mountain man, ocean wave, Elizabeth, Mama Duffield. Anyway, thank you for coming. But let me tell you the rest of the story. So I made it up to the pine. No, not alpine, but pine. What did I say? Anyway, the substation that was east of El Cajon on Highway 84, and they announced, to look on Bolo, be on the lookout for the Dodge, and I had his license number and everything. Well, they didn't find him for 3 days, and then when they arrested him, he lived on his parents' chicken ranch a mile from us, so he had been following me for some time. I don't know where he picked me up, but he had been stalking me for quite some time. But remember, I was skinny and pretty, and anytime I left the house with my uniform, I never had my uniform. Uh, Whenever I drove my private car, my uniform was always either covered up or turned inside out. So no one knew that I was a policeman when I walked outside the house because you just don't do that. Well, in those days we weren't allowed to. I don't know what it is now. I'm talking 73, early 70s. And so anyway, they arrested him and they had me pick him up. I picked him up out of a lineup and in the pictures that they brought over. And then the prosecutor went forward with the prosecution because he was facing kidnapping and he was facing some serious charges. And he was out on bail and he would come and park in front of my house. I was terrified of this guy, Howard Corvinus. He lives in Arizona, Phoenix area. I'd like to call the cop. I think I'm going to call the Phoenix police and tell them, see what's ever happened with him. I've never looked him up on been verified or something. I should. But anyway, he he got charged and he got put in jail for a while, and then he got out for the trial. And so the first thing they did is they put me up on a stand, and I'm in plain clothes, everyday clothes. Nobody knew that I was a sheriff. And the defense got at me first, asked me how did I know how many feet it was, and I got all flustered and I started crying because I was so upset. And then during one of the breaks, we had a break, and all his family were there, and they were going like this to me, and they said, "You're dead meat. We're gonna blank 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 you. You're a blankety blank." And then his defense was that I had been chasing him, and I was stalking him. And I thought, there's no way I did that. They made me look bad, and I felt I was so intimidated on the witness stand. I call it the witless stand because it just terrified me. It was like in Sheriff's Academy before graduation, we all had to have a polygraph, and they put all those wires on me and set me there. I was I was almost crying. Then they asked me if I knew where some drugs were. Something about, I didn't hear the word illegal, but anyway, if I knew where some drugs were. My heart was in my throat. They'd asked me if I'd ever smoked marijuana, and I said yes, because I had. And or if I drank underage, yes, I had. And and if I took drugs, no, I didn't take drugs. And then they asked me if I knew where there was some illegal or legal drugs were. And my heart was in my throat, and I thought I was going to pass out. I was so scared because I'd had I'd had the impacted wisdom pulled out, tooth pulled, and I had 2 or 3 Vicodin left in my medicine closet. So I said, yes. I started crying. I said, I got them when I had oral surgery. And he says, not that kind of drugs. And he rolled his eyes. But anyway, taking a polygraph is scary. And even if you had did nothing, it still scared me to death. But anyway, so being on the witness stand, I stood there and then got back up, and then it was prosecution's turn to ask me a few questions. And they said, why were you out in the East County and what were you doing? And I said, well, I'd been an outside salesperson for Amco Transmission, and I've made it to not number one, but I was number two in the United States and Canada, and I was making a lot of money because I was cute, flirty, and friendly with all these gas station guys who referred all their transmission businesses to us, to Amco Transmission. So, I'd done that for 3 years, and I was making a killing. Sometimes I'd get 900 a week for referral business. So I was making almost as much as my husband. He was working for Motorola as a systems engineer right out of college. But so I saved every penny, and we were going to buy a house. So anyway, so I was on the witness stand, and the prosecution asked me about my job with Amco, and I explained that, and I says, yeah, I only did that about 10 hours, 15 hours a week, and that I worked, that I had another job. And he says, well, Mrs. Blank, what is your full-time job? And I says, I'm a San Diego County deputy sheriff. And you could hear gasping all throughout the courtroom that was filled with his family and friends. And several of my deputy friends were with me there in the courtroom because they knew I was going through hell. Anyway, his lawyer stood up and he goes, which is timeout. So they called a break. And then pretty soon I was called to the prosecution's office, or district attorney's office, and he said he wants to do a plea deal. So I didn't want to be on the witness stand anymore and be have my life pulled apart. I was just terrified of this guy. Anyway, he pled guilty to lesser charges and he went to jail for a while. So you never know who who's in the car next to you. I don't know why I didn't pull my 357 out and shoot him. I had every right to, or shoot him in the kneecaps. when I when I was in my firearms class out on the range, then we had a coffin area that we were supposed to shoot, and that was, they drew a coffin, and we were supposed to shoot right in that coffin area, the heart or stomach. But I always hit low just to prove a point, and they'd go, wow, You don't ever want her to hit you. You'd be singing in the choir because I always hit low. I should have done that to him. Or I could have held him at gunpoint, but I didn't know if he had more guys in the. But who knows how long it would have been before another car came by. And then, so I was too afraid to pull my weapon. And the only time I've ever pulled my weapon was when we had a bobcat and then a cougar here. So anyway, we live out in the sticks. So that's my crazy story about Howard Corvinus, who showed me his weenus out in the desert one sunny day. He went to jail after the courtroom, and I finally got my way. Anyway, this is the end. Thank you for coming, and I listen, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and maybe another scammer will call me. I missed 3 calls yesterday, so I didn't want to deal with it. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for coming. Give me a thumbs up. I need a thumbs up. And I share it out. Share my video about the new angle that scammers are taking with Amazon. Please share. Not that I'm not looking for subs. I do need them, but I'm not going to use YouTube. I'm not going to make any money. But I do want to help stop them from destroying people. In our church recently, the church Facebook, somebody wrote that they know 3 people that lost thousands of dollars just this last week. 2 of them, one lost 3,000, another lost 2,000, and the other one is really bad. And you can't get your money back. But somebody is going to do this to your loved one. But we need to educate them to not get taken by. I'll show you something even here. So share that out. Not because, like I said, not because I need points. I'm not looking for points. I'm not going to make money. I'll never be monetized. Let me show you. It's funny.
I'm sorry? No, I'm not going to give you my address. If you have my file on me, you should know what my address is. See, friends, you need to understand one thing over here, that I'm trying to cooperate with the only recording line, and even you need to cooperate with me. Can you send me any address? My current address is 205 Saunders, Saunders Street.
She's given the police station.
In Apex, North Carolina. I want me to read out the complete information to you about the allegations from which you can now. There are legal enforcement agencies involved in this case. So before we go ahead, I will give out the complete information to you.
Anyway, I'll leave a link to that. It's funny. So even a police high up, I think she's a police captain, she got a call on her cell phone while she was at work. Anyway, I'll leave a link to that. So, but the one about the new angle with Amazon, listen to what that lady has to say, because I recorded her voice. Anyway, thank you. God bless. Bye-bye. Have a good day.